tonight on MetroNews. Riverside Market's set to open, but is it too much for the CBD? These tiny creatures are in danger of death. And will women's rugby take the lead?
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to your local news, brought to you by the students of the New Zealand Broadcasting School.
First up tonight, medical centres and pharmacies are being asked to prioritise which patients receive the flu vaccine. 1.3
million people have already had the vaccine, but now supplies are running short. Oliver Cowan reports.
Winter's hit hard and many people are well prepared against illness.
Flu is a really aggressive bug, and if you get the flu, you know you've got the flu. You're really crook. Muscle aches, fever, you're absolutely washed out, and you just sleep and hydrate yourself.
Cases popped up as early as February and already 3 people have died, and this prompted a rush for vaccinations. That rush means that supplies are low and they can't get any more of the vaccine in the country for this year's flu. So, pharmacists and GPs have been asked to limit supply to those who are only publicly funded. A pregnant woman, young children, over 65s and people with chronic illnesses. The flu's much more than a common cold, and it accounts for almost half of sick days each winter. One student didn't get a shot last year and suffered the consequences.
So obviously I couldn't go to lectures because I didn't want to get anyone else sick, plus I didn't have the energy to get out of bed. But handing in assignments was rough.
For those who now won't be able to get the vaccine, the message is to prevent spread, isolate yourself, wash your hands thoroughly, and use proper sneezing and coughing etiquette.
Cover like that, because what that does 2 things. It stops it spreading to you if I do that, but also it doesn't go onto your hands.
The advice health authorities are now giving themselves: order more vaccine for next year. Oliver Cowan, MetroNews.
The developer behind the new Central City Farmers Market is confident it will work, despite an oversupply of hospitality venues. Lucy Henry's been checking out the project. Lucy, why is the developer so sure it will be a success?
Well, the developer in this case is Richard Peebles, and he's actually the man behind Little High Eatery. And although this latest project was initially turned down 4 times, Mr. Peebles is confident this one will work, as it's unlike anything Christchurch has seen before.
It's called Riverside. 4 buildings, a farmer's market and a retail precinct, connected by interlinking laneways. It'll be home to 40 fresh produce stalls, 15 boutique shops, 30 independent food outlets, not to mention 5 rooftop restaurants.
And as we want it to be the heart of the city, so if we can do a market where we produce local, fresh food, but also lots of ready-to-eats and lots of activity, people will come back into the CBD.
Peter Perham is setting up his business in Riverside and thinks it'll have an edge.
We've decided that we really would need to be where the customers are, and it's a really lovely, exciting and vibrant atmosphere in there.
There's been talk of an oversupply in the hospitality sector, but Richard Peebles believes there's still a gap in the market.
The fresh food movement and healthy food is a massively growing segment of the economy. People want to know where their food's coming from.
Plans include methods to keep their carbon footprint low.
At Riverside, they have a sustainability initiative. 95% of all of their packaging will be biodegradable, and they'll actually compost it all on site and turn it into fertiliser.
The main concern now is the lack of car parking in the CBD.
Our biggest risk is effectively the City Council's hate of car parks. The fact is that 90% of people travel by car, and we need to cater for them at the moment.
So while the building's on track to finish in spring, Richard Peebles is lobbying council to stop reducing car parks.
Richard Peebles' vision is for Riverside to become a bustling community hub that everyone can enjoy. The upper level will have a stage which will feature all sorts of performances like school choir competitions and comedy shows. With everything going to plan, the whole thing should be all finished around mid-October.
Thanks, Lucy. Vaping could soon be more popular as the Ministry of Health launches another campaign to get people to quit smoking. As Stephen Walton reports, it's all part of the plan to make the country smoke-free by 2025.
This will soon be a government-endorsed way to stop smoking. Health authorities are launching a campaign later this year encouraging smokers to make the switch. Vape stores have already seen it happen.
I would say that probably 80% of our customers are ex-smokers and just wanting a healthier alternative to smoking.
The Ministry of Health's campaign will run alongside a Vaping Facts website. The campaign will target younger Māori women as they have the highest age standardised smoking rate.
From the customers that we get and the comments that people get from switching to an electric cigarette from smoking, they feel a lot better. They're waking up, not coughing up a whole bunch of stuff.
But is vaping safe for smokers? A Stanford University researcher recently claimed his laboratory-based study clearly shows that e-cigarettes are not a safe alternative because flavouring liquid might raise the risk of heart disease. But health science lecturer Dr. Mark Wallace-Bell says for smokers, the benefits of vaping outweigh the potential concerns, although more research is needed.
We don't know how harmful vaping is, but what we do know is its harm is less than tobacco use.
He supports the ministry's campaign and has one message.
The main message, I think, is that vaping is safer than smoking. We know the harms of tobacco.
So once the campaign launches later this year, expect to see this a little more often. Stephen Walton, MetroNews.
Young and old, it's hard to find anyone who doesn't love Monarch butterflies. But as Connor Sterling reports, they're under attack from two different threats.
Dozens upon dozens of monarch butterflies, gracefully waiting for a change in season.
Some of the ones you find are really thin, this one's not too bad.
Over the winter period, clusters of monarchs hang in trees, hoping to survive till spring. Butterfly lovers Maria Romero and Vicky Steele visit Christchurch parks like Aberley, keeping tabs on monarch activity.
Come on. The other one might be better. I'll just warm her up, see if she'll behave.
This is such a magical, we're so lucky, like people in America have to get on planes and fly to Mexico for this magnificent experience. You'll be up and close with nature, it's just quite fascinating.
But monarchs are under continual threat from rats, which climb trees and eat them. Just 23 of 700 butterflies survived here last winter.
Definitely, it shouldn't happen, you know, like they should feel safe in their trees. But unfortunately, when they're asleep, dormant, there's something that just trying to eat them.
The council has installed these steel bands to stop the rats, but they're not the only problem. Monarchs like these are reliant on humans for their survival, but there are some things that people can't control. It only takes a harsh winter to wipe out these tiny Cantabrians. Strong frosts, rain and wind will simply blow these beauties from the trees. Niwa meteorologist Ben Knoll says the start of winter is always going to be rough.
July might bring more tranquil weather. Overall, June is probably the most active month here in the Easter and South Island. In fact, for much of New Zealand, June is a bit of a rocky month.
While it's still too early to judge the effectiveness of the tree bans, it's safe to say that on the weather front at least, the future is looking up for these iconic insects. Connor Sterling, MetroNews.
Following a 10-hour-long meeting between unions and Education Minister Chris Hipkins, the PPTA has called off next Tuesday's strike. The protest would have seen Year 10 teachers walk off the job nationwide. More strikes remain a possibility if further negotiations fall through. Coming up, do Kiwis understand their past?
And we meet some kids doing good for their community.
My name's Chris Nicol and I'm Head of Production for Capital FM Network, doing TV, I'm doing online, I'm doing event audio, and I'm working with a team of 8 people. We make everything, every single sweeper, ident, thing that says what radio station you're listening to, what TV station you're watching. Broadcasting school put me in a scenario where I had to figure things out. Hands-on learning, getting stuck in, teaching yourself stuff. It also prepared me for the sorts of people that you come in contact with in media and how to deal with situations, especially high stressful situations. The great thing was the tutors were really encouraging and really helpful. They were like senior members of staff in a real radio station. Nowhere else will you get hands-on learning that actually lands you in a real radio station doing real work as part of the course. I have freelanced at some fantastic places and made some really good friends just from being able to turn up and be nice and polite and professional. All of those things is what broadcasting school was really good at versing you in. Being in London, it's a melting pot of creativity and ideas and people. I'm doing stations in Iceland, Germany, America, New Zealand still, which is wonderful. can't say I expected it to be quite like this, but it's awesome.
Welcome back. Teachers want New Zealand history to be compulsory in schools.
They've started a petition to get Kiwis learning about their past. I went to a school to check it out. It's a lottery whether students learn about the history of Aotearoa during their school years. Now, the History Teachers Association wants to change this.
What we really decided we needed is a coherent approach to the teaching of our own past.
So far, the petition's gained the support of around 350 teachers nationwide, and 3,500 people have signed.
It's really important, I think, for our girls and everyone to know more about New Zealand history, because you can see it in lots of news stories and just in society, how people don't understand why some people, Māori particularly, are upset or feel aggrieved at what's happened in the past.
Teachers say too few students understand how the Crown and Māori were brought together in 1840 and how this relationship played out over the following decades.
I think that some understanding of our history around that will also help in terms of race relations.
Teaching this history can also align with learning te reo Māori.
So those cultural aspects, to a certain extent, come hand in hand with learning about the history as well.
The government's aiming for 1 million New Zealanders to be able to speak te reo by 2040.
We need to create a demand and create spaces for the language to be heard where it needs to be spoken.
The petition will be presented next week. A veggie stand run by a North Christchurch kindergarten is distributing leftover food to the community as part of a nationwide campaign to reduce waste. Charlotte Teamy went along to have a look and joins us now. So, Charlotte, what can you tell us?
Yes, so the stand run by Kids First in Bishopdale has been a huge hit with locals. And like a lot of initiatives lately, it's all about using fruit and veggies that otherwise would have been wasted. But in this case, it's preschoolers who are learning that when it comes to food, every bit counts.
Thanks, team. We'll put it on the shelf.
Instilling sustainable habits early. A makeshift community food share scheme in Bishopdale is teaching young children about sustainability. The Bishop's Box, outside Kids First Kindergarten on Cotswold Avenue, is a project started by head teacher Adele Putty to take a stand against food wastage.
We're quite big here at kindergarten on sustainability. We have our worm farm, we catch the rainwater, so we're trying to do as much as we can and having the children learn.
The environmental campaign Love Food, Hate Waste New Zealand says learning sustainable habits is essential. New Zealanders throw away more than 157,000 tonnes of food a year. That's the same as filling 271 jumbo jets. And of that food waste, over half of it is fruit and vegetables. It's this waste that the Bishop's Box seeks to combat. What is it for?
For giving away some food.
So what kind of food do you have in here at the moment?
Having limes, apples, spinach,
Spinach. Anybody in the community can drop off or pick up leftover produce and non-perishables as needed. The idea was started by a father of 3 in the North Island, and now there are over 200 boxes similar to this all across New Zealand.
Children are being really mindful, about the environment, looking after Papatuanuku, being kaitiakis and rangatira, so they're being leaders and guardians of the earth. And learning how to sort of really look after it for future.
One of the many ways these kids are contributing towards a greener, more sustainable life. Just last week, the Kids First Association gave Adele Putty and the Bishop's Box an award for the work that's been done. And talking to the man behind the community stand's idea, Mark Dennis, well, he'd like to see the movement continue to grow organically and go global.
Thanks, Charlotte. Loneliness is a big issue facing elderly people. It can lead to a lack of motivation, which often means they can't be bothered cooking. The Senior Chef program is combating the issue one meal at a time. Louise Tanuth joins us now with coordinator Wendy Scanlon. Louise.
So Wendy, just to get things started, tell me a bit more about Senior Chef.
So Senior Chef is an 8-week program offered to the community in Christchurch. It's free. And those who come along, you have to be 60 or over, and you have to be living alone or with one other person. So it's all about preventing malnutrition through getting your cooking skills up and running, and also getting your motivation to cook. So we sort of have two groups of people who come along. Those who have limited skills, and that's all about teaching them new ways of cooking. But also the group, they've cooked all their life, they've got really sick of cooking, they might be living by themselves now, and it's just giving them some fun in the kitchen again. Yeah.
And so why did you feel that there was a need for this in the community?
Well, Senior Chef has been going for 10 years now, so we've had our 2000th graduate, so we're really proud of our program. And it all came out of the fact that we realised that malnutrition was a big problem in Canterbury, and two of the major risk factors for this was living alone, being lonely, and also just not having the cooking skills to cook for yourself. So that's how Senior Chef came about.
And how long has it been running? You say it's 10 years.
So 10 years. So we've run over 200 classes. We're funded to run 21 classes a year. So it's funded via Pegasus Health. So really it's there for our general practice teams to refer people who they see are either socially isolated, lonely, or need those cooking skills.
And apart from cooking, you also cover nutrition as well. How important is it to have the both of those?
Oh, it's really important. So we cover nutrition because as we age, our nutrition needs change. So that's really important that people know what's going on and how to apply it to their cooking. So we're really, really practical about that. And as well as nutrition, I think also just being able to plan your meals is really important. 1 week we go to the supermarket, which is lots of fun. So it's learning about what products are out there, what products suit older people, what can you cook if you're just living by yourself or one person.
And I know that you're Christchurch based and in Whangarei. Do you see it expanding further than that as well?
Well, at the moment, so we do them in Christchurch City. We have some in North Canterbury, in Rangiora, and Kaiapoi, and in Ashburton. We recently ran one in Oxford, and we also have them in Kaikoura. So that's where our funding lies. When it first started, we were given more funding to train other people in other centres. So that could be a possibility in the future, yeah.
And how important is the companionship side of things as well?
Oh, it's just so important. And, you know, if you go along to a Senior Chef class, there's great banter, there's great friendships. Over half our Senior Chefs actually still meet up. So they might go out for a coffee or they might have a shared lunch together. And as part of my work, we provide celebrations throughout the year so that Senior Chefs can come along. So it's really important. We've had one Senior Chef marriage, and I think there might have been a few other great friendships made along the way too.
Thanks, Wendy. That's all we've got time for. Back to you.
Thanks, Louise. Coming up, will women's rugby ever step out of the shadows? And haven't you heard? It's National Donut Day.
My name's Alistair Coburn. I'm the station producer for Classic FM. So we're in London, we've got 8 radio stations and 2 TV stations here. So I've been doing this job about 2 years. Got a phone call while I was in the middle of Europe saying you've got a job interview in London. Worked out quite well. London's the greatest city on earth, I think. There's so much to do here, it's just such a vibrant place. My first year in the UK, I think we saw about 10 different countries. 2 weeks ago we were in Wales, a week before that we were in Prague. It's really amazing. I mean, Classic FM, we've got 5.3 million listeners every week, so it's more than the entire New Zealand population. I'll be writing promos, writing trails, writing imaging, writing commercials as well. I got nominated for a Sony Radio Award for a promotional campaign which I worked on. The skills that I've got from my study, they really stand up. It taught me a lot about how the entire radio industry works, like from sales to production to on-air to writing. Once you're done, you've got the internship, you get straight into a job, and from there you're off. I mean, the world's your oyster, basically.
Welcome back. The success of the Black Ferns is giving a boost to women's rugby nationwide.
Natasha Payne takes a look.
Whoever said women couldn't play rugby hasn't seen the first 15 from Rangiora High hit the field. They're coached by Stu Nielsen. He says the girls still don't get a real chance to develop their skills in the sport they love.
Like the boys start off at such a young age and come through, it's just part of the culture of it, and the girls don't start till later on, and it's sort of like they think it's like a last minute thing, just sort of like a novelty thing, I think, for them. But yeah, the girls are quite keen for doing it now. So
they play in the school's women's rugby competition. Captain Emily Winters played in the team for a number of years. While numbers are up, She believes more girls would join if it wasn't for the way they got treated in schools.
Out of school rugby, it's a lot different because we get to have more opportunities out of school than in school, I've found.
But Emily ignores this and just concentrates on the game and herself.
When I first started playing rugby, the boys said to me, "You can't play it, it's a boys' sport." And I said, "No, I'm going to play, I'm going to prove them wrong." And I've proved them wrong.
In 2018, more than 28,000 females were registered to play rugby in New Zealand, a number which had doubled since 2012. This shows that New Zealand is changing its thinking when it comes to women's rugby, but some say we still have a long way to go. Stephanie Fox has played in the Black Ferns and is captain of the Canterbury team.
Pushing more on the younger girls into schools, getting them involved so that in the future we will have that fully professional team and they know the standards right from the get-go.
So next time you get told you play like a girl, I wouldn't take it so negatively. Natasha Payne, Metro News.
It was controversial from the start, but since opening in 2014, Hagley Oval has become the South Island's top cricket venue. But those in charge say to go to the next level, it needs permanent lighting. Jack Ward has the story.
Cricket has been played at Hagley Oval for over 150 years. But to remain current, the Canterbury Cricket Trust wants permanent lights.
Cricket has changed in the sense that the shorter version of the game has now become prevalent. Some tests are played under lights, but the 2020 and one-day games are now predominantly being played in the late afternoon and early evening.
He says the later times are needed to reach big TV audiences in places like India.
So it's important that we play within those timeframes that are premium for those audiences.
But the temporary lights aren't up to the job.
They have now become not really fit for purpose. Technology's moved on. Those grounds that have retractable lights are having operational problems with them.
The tourism industry says events like Winterfest could also be held there.
It would be a great asset for Hagley Oval to have these lights, and it's not only for cricket, it's for all the other codes and events that could also use themselves to broadcast themselves to the world.
But not everyone is happy.
And this is something that's known in the trade as planning by stealth. So you take what you can get, then you come back and you try and make tweak here and a tweak there, and that's how you get to exactly where you want.
Permanent lights need ministerial approval. It's not something opponents want to see.
This is not designed as a free public space, and that's what Hagley Park is. It belongs to all of us.
A decision some time away, with cricket officials hoping moments like these
He gets it over the top, it's through for four, and New Zealand have done it again. Can you believe it?
will be a regular thing. Jack Ward, Metro News.
It's been a big day for donut fans. Hundreds of people have been enjoying their favourite treat. And as Courtney Winter reports, it's all part of National Donut Day.
What a treat. Stuffed, dunked, sprinkled, garnished with everything from petals and popcorn to jam and edible glitter. They love them, especially since the donuts were free.
We actually came last year, so we're just continuing our tradition of love for donuts.
Yeah.
Coming again.
We usually come here, but then when I found out they were free, I was like, we're coming in the car and we're going.
National Donut Day happens on the first Friday of every June.
Yes, we did it last year. Donuts are sort of on the rise at the moment, really. It's come out of the States. They're the ones that kicked off Donut Day, I think. And the last couple of years it's been pretty big here in New Zealand. We did a similar sort of thing, gave away 850 donuts here in the cafe. This year pushing for 1,000.
Donuts have been a treat for everyone for a very long time, starting off with the classic plain from your local fish and chip shop.
We started making donuts when the company started back in 1991. That was donuts for fish and chip shops, and sort of grown from there.
Whether it's mini, glazed, chocolate or cream filled, if you missed out on getting your favourite this year, don't worry, Donut Day will be back again.
Do you want to take a bite? Yeah?
Courtney Winter, Metro News.
Emma Turton is here with the weather. So Emma, what's the weekend looking like?
Cold, cold and more cold, but it's been a mild and sunny day today for most of the country, with some rain hitting the main centres, and this looks like it will continue. Christchurch, tomorrow will be a bit of a chilly one, so now's the time to layer up, as it will only reach a high of 12, but 0 overnight. For those of you heading to the rugby, it may be a good idea to take a beanie. Looking south, most places share the cloud cover, as Ashburton has a high of 11 and Timaru and Twizel will drop below 0 overnight. It's definitely starting to feel like winter with these temperatures sitting around 10 degrees. Hanma will just reach double digits as high cloud and wind whirl around the area. Kaikoura has the highest temperature with a brisk 15, so you can get outside and make the most of it. Oxford will just hit 10 too. Looks like it'll be another cold weekend as the seasons change, but ideal for people going to the mountains to carve up the slopes. That's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Back to you, Leighton and Grace.
Thanks, Emma. And that's all for Metro News this year. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Grace Thomas.
And I'm Leighton Hakel. Ngā mihi nui.
Hei ko neira.